So, if you've been interested into religious topics, you probably found already this binarity between the people that believe in God, which are the theists, and the people that don't believe in God, which are the atheists. But in a group of in between, there's also the agnostic. Agnostic is the person that doesn't know whether a God exists or doesn't exist. Or at least there are multiple variations to it. But as someone who tends to have more of a greater agreement towards it, I'm going to explain the belief and just share the point of view that, for example, an agnostic would have. Now, the agnostic isn't denying the existence of God. Now, usually God means, if we would generalize it to all religions, actually two things. First of all, it's the source from where the universe has created itself. And second of all, it's the thing that maintains all the laws within the universe in order. Now, if you think about it, sure, on the first hand, it seems ludicrous to assume that there was some kind of mythical creature that created the entire universe. But no one is really, or at least a minority is saying that it was really a person. Now, let's say we go really scientific about it and say the universe was created by the Big Bang. Well, great, but why did it create the Big Bang? And we probably may do some other research, but currently we don't really know. But let's say we know what created the Big Bang. But wouldn't this other thing would have another cause? And this cause of the cause have another cause? And this cause would have been following another cause, which would make it almost eternal. Series of causes. Now, it wouldn't make sense if somewhere along the causes which created the universe would have a cause in of itself. Because how can something happen to exist without a cause causing itself? Like, how can a cause come to create itself out of nothingness? It doesn't make much sense, isn't it? So even if it may be not a god or these creatures that we tend to call about, now even if we don't know, we still assume that there was something that created it. But we just don't know what created the universe. And we also don't know from where people tend to get those beliefs from. Even if we think that it may sound silly that there may be a guy in the sky watching us, whether we behave the right way or the wrong way, from somewhere the belief must have itself formed. From somewhere people must have had inspiration in order to think this way. But another reason to think about of such a thing as source, the cause that causes all the things, is the reason from where the universe tends to maintain its laws, the way things tend to happen that they are happening. Now we could, for example, talk about gravity or magnetism. Sure, we could talk about gravitons. We could, treat it as Newton would do it and say, okay, it's just a law, it's just happening the way it is. No matter whether we find a reason for it or not. But no matter how much you would dig down into it, for example, figuring out why gravitons do exist or why space-time does exist and what is the cause of gravitons in space-time. What the spiritual teaching does, it's saying, okay, look, we are not trying to reduce things into the small matters, but it's more about the whole and how the world tends to interact with each other. So if you want to understand how the world works, try to look at it as a whole, instead of trying to reduce it to the tiniest parts. Try to look at it as a system and how everything tends to interconnect. Just figuring out why clouds behave the way clouds behave won't make you figuring out by looking at their atoms. The same way you can figure out why a hydrogen, which has a completely different quality, tend to work completely different when it's connected to another hydrogen and another oxygen, or anything that you tend to connect. If you connect things, they will behave differently than if you break them up together into small pieces. And so for the agnostic, they don't know why laws happen the way they happen, but they know they're happening based on evidence, based on experiments. So this is essentially the belief of agnosticism. or weak agnosticism, as to put it this way. There's also a different kind of agnosticism, so if you want me to discuss it, you could write about it in the comments, and yeah, see you later.